So our next session is entitled Caregivers, Learning and Sharing Ideas. It's kind of coordinated by our auxiliary, and our presenters are, as I mentioned, the Reverend Edna Dixon. She's the BVAA Vice President, Patty Hale, the reporter, and also the past president. And Kelly Golden is on the line. She's the bros with the New Mexico VA Medical Center, and Trudy Valdez, who's the VIS coordinator in New Mexico. So I think just to review really quickly, we are going to have a question and answer session after the presentations. At least we've made room for that. So you can type your question in the Q&A box or send it through the chat, or what was more common in the last session was just the raised hand function. Seemed to work out really super well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this over to, I think, Patty, I'm going to turn this over to you first. I'm not sure what order you're going to go, but can I turn it over to you first? And thank you. I see you now.
Okay, Kelly and Trudy, if you have can share video, we'd like that too. I'd like to welcome all of you to this session. Independence plus acceptance equals dignity is a theme that we used this past year, and the auxiliary view articles kind of lend themselves to that also. Those three things are key to all who are blinded veterans, and likewise to their families and caregivers. So I'd invite anyone that's interested to go back and into the bulletins that are listed on the bva.org website and see what we have to see more in depth. But we want to today to kind of bring you forward, talk a little bit about that, and then move you into our theme for this coming year. And I'm a little nervous right now, so bear with me. The confluence of worlds. So I'd like to, I wish we could all share personal successes, but I'd like to see if some of you have some personal successes. And I'm going to start with Kelly and Trudy and Edna to see, so that they can share some of the things that they have found in working with blinded veterans and with caregivers. Kelly?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. I think some of the biggest successes that I have experienced with people is when you go into a newly visually impaired person's home, or they're just enrolled into the program, they first interact with Trudy, our VIS coordinator, and she's wonderful. So she'll explain the program to them and get them all involved and make sure that whatever they need, she'll hook them up. So then when I go in, we have a lot of people who have given up on everything. They just kind of shut down, they don't want to do their hobbies, they don't want to read, they don't want to do anything because they're depressed about losing their vision, because it's a life-changing experience. But with our programs, we're able to go in and be a support system for them, and we can provide the training and the tools that they need to continue to do the things they want to. They may not be able to do them as they did before, but with encouragement and cheerleading, they're able to take baby steps towards doing those things they gave up. And that's pretty awesome. Trudy, do you?
Hi, I'm Trudy. Thank you for having me. I completely agree with Kelly in what she said. One of the hardest things is the first time the veteran's told by the doctor that they're legally blind, and then they come to me, and the veteran, and if they have a caregiver, a family member with them, they have this huge weight on their shoulders. And so what I do is really talk to them about what it means, what the definition of legal blindness means, and what it means as far as on the outside, talking to others. But I really try to reinforce with the veteran that this is just, legal blindness is just a term. It's a definition that we use for other things. That definition does not determine what's going to happen next in their life. And I really try to focus on that with them.
And all of us from every direction are working toward independence of the blinded veteran. And we each do it in a different way, but that is the goal. And acceptance is a key thing. The veteran and his family, her family, have to accept the fact, hey, I don't see so good anymore. And that's a really hard thing to do. My own husband, once knew he was declared legally blind, but avoided it for about 12 years. And we kind of muddled through. And I remember him one day saying, I just need to accept this and see what I can do and quit lamenting that I can't do this and I can't do that. Biggest thing I think that stops everyone is that suddenly they can't drive anymore. And that's a real hard thing to get over. And when you find out you've lost something or you can't do something anymore, it takes a big chunk out of who you think you are, who you present yourself as. In other words, your dignity. And we want to say, hey, we understand that. Dignity is huge. And the acceptance of your blindness by the veteran and by the family and by your whole community is huge. And we're constantly being bombarded with, oh, you're blind, we can't have you do that. Or, oh, you're blind, you can't do that. And every time someone hears that, it chops away a little bit at who they feel they are. And it takes a lot to get back to that hump. They say one negative can only be countered by about 10 positives. And that's true in everything. So if there's someone out there that has a short personal success they'd like to share, please let Stuart know, and we'll see if we can get you in as we're going through this, even before the end of it. So you are valuable. We love you. And as caregivers, we also have to say, okay, this is the way my life is. And those of us who were married after the veteran had their diagnosis kind of sort of knew what we were getting into. But in educating the others around us, then we say, hey, this is the part I didn't realize. I can accept it, so why can't these other people? So we have to work that much harder to lift up our veteran and to educate the world. And when you can only educate a person one at a time and you're not sure they're getting it, that chops away and you have to start over a lot. So dignity is really, really plus. And how does dignity survive when the world of the sighted and the world of the blind collide, or any two worlds? But in our case, especially this one, it doesn't. It gets chopped away at. It gets chopped away because the other people are inconsiderate or they lack the respect that sometimes of themselves before others. And it's really tough to get people to understand. It is a lack of education or a lack of training, because let's face it, the world is run by sighted people. And when sighted people encounter blind people, they don't understand what to do or how to do it. And we, as family members, caregivers, as well as blinded veterans, need to educate ourselves in order to help educate the rest of the world. And it's a constant thing that you're doing, and it gets tough on the caregivers and the family a lot too. So, but just keep plugging at it. And one thing that is really, really good is that we have the Blinded Veterans Association, who stands up for us at the VA and with Congress. And Trudy and Kelly and their counterparts are here because of the Blinded Veterans Association. And so we can be thankful for this group of blinded veterans and the people that work with them to really promote and help the rest of the world understand. So we do have that leg up. And then there's always the people that say, hey, you're blind, I can see, I'm better than you are. No, you're not. The blind are as equally important in this world as any sighted person is. And it's tough to get over that feeling. Is there anyone in the audience that has a comment that they'd like to make about independence, acceptance, dignity, or a short story that you can tell? If you do, and you have a hand raise thing on there, please raise it so that Stuart can find you and you can share it with us.
Patty, may I comment?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that a lot of times when in the beginning, when a person is just informed that they're visually impaired or legally blind, the society, everyone, the family members, everyone automatically feels, oh no, this person can't do anything anymore, so we need to take care of them. So in a situation where you might have a professional veteran, you know, someone who's has a career and been doing fine, and then now having vision problems, his coworkers might think, oh no, they're blind. They can't participate and work the way they used to. And so we, as a whole, need to educate everyone that this person is no different than they were before. They might just need some tools to continue doing what they do.
Thank you. That's very, very true.
May I add on to that a little?
Absolutely.
So a thing that I will find is the spouse or the caregiver wants to do everything for that person because they can't do it. They're blind or they're visually impaired, so they can't. And sometimes the person's depressed or they don't, you know, they just want to sit in their chair. So they'll let everybody do that. We don't want that to happen, because as a caregiver or a wife or a husband of the visually impaired person, you are going to be exhausted. You're going to be, you won't have any time for yourself. You're going to feel overwhelmed and maybe resentful in the end. So when we come in and teach these people their independent training and all the devices that they can use to help them accomplish their goals, we want them to do that. We want.
Kelly, you're,
Got it.
there you go. Okay.
We want we want them to be independent. We want them to use the skills they've learned. We want them to make you breakfast and make you
Mhm.
dinner and do everything that they can do. And we want you to step back and allow that to happen. If the person says, I need help, that's when you can come in and help them. You can support them. You can say, I'm here if you need anything, but let's try to do the things that we know you can.
I read things that you two just said reminded me of a bit of education that one wife got a number of years ago at a BVA convention. It used to be that when the younger vets came back from the sandbox, as they call it, they came into our conventions and were paired with a veteran of another era that hopefully had his act together a little bit to help them get acclimatized to the world that they live in now. And I remember one veteran that my husband was mentoring. His wife was absolutely wonderful. She was one of these people that said, okay, I'm going to learn as much as I can about his blindness, and I'm going to make sure that I can do everything that he needs me to do so that we can compensate. Well, this veteran felt terrible, and he expressed the fact that I have a beautiful wife, I have a beautiful daughter, and I'm not a man anymore. I can't do it. And so through the week that we were there, both of us visited with the wife and with the couple and all of this kind of stuff. And at one point, we had some guide dogs at that convention that the blinded vets that were interested could try out. And this young veteran said, oh, that sounds interesting. And his wife said, okay, I'll learn too so that I can help you. Wrong step. So, but it was a good experience because in talking to the people that were helping with the guide dog walks with the veterans, my husband talked to him and said, keep this wife out of the center. Is his experience, not hers. So they did. They made sure that she was 3 blocks, well, not 3 blocks, but several feet behind so that she wasn't interfering. And she listened to what was going on between them. And we had talked to her, and my husband told her, he said, you know what we call people like you? We call you ankle bracelets. You're actually holding your husband back by being so helpful. And don't drag him down. He has to run into some walls so that he knows that, hey, those walls haven't changed. It's me that has to get around those walls now. And it was really fun because on a shopping excursion toward the end of the week, we spotted them and a couple of their friends that they'd made. And this young man was out in front leading them, using his cane and looking forward to getting a dog, which he later did. And he was on point, and everybody else was laughing, and all of them were having a great time. And he had gained confidence just with that little bit of her standing back and watching and listening and saying, see, you can do it. And it's a world. His dignity was wonderful. We visited with him at the banquet, and he was back to what I would assume was his old self. And it was a good feeling to see. So if there's one thing that I would say to wives and family members especially is, like my husband said to him, let them run into the walls a little bit. They have to do that in order to feel like they are doing something for somebody else. So that his dignity rose tremendously. And we saw him at another time, and he was with his guide dog, and he was just as, they were just as normal a couple as they were when he was sighted, and it was really made us feel good. So how does dignity survive then when the worlds do collide? By us as caregivers and veterans showing respect to the rest of the world, treating them like you would like for them to treat you. Be polite, be considerate. And if you have any questions or concerns, talk to somebody that can truly answer them for you. Whether it's a counselor or someone who has gained the knowledge that you would be starting to learn by understanding what the VIS can do for them, what the bros can do for them, what BRC can do for them. Utilize these people because they are there, and join and become active in a regional group. Those are all ways that we can show that we really can do it. They can show that they can really do it. And we can, as caregivers and family members, encourage them to step forward, to get the tools that Trudy was talking about that they need, to get the skills that they need through Kelly, through the bros and the BRC, and get educated in whatever it is about that. That will, the more education you have, the taller you can stand, the more you can advocate for yourself or for your family member or for the group as a whole. Get educated on a pursue. Get educated so that you can pursue a career of your choice. Whatever you were headed for before you became blind, unless it involves driving, you can probably do with your blindness, because we live in a day of computers, and what we might have trouble seeing now, and like they were talking about in the last session, we'll probably have a lot of computers reading in the background of some of the sessions, because that's what computers can do, so that the blinded person can educate themselves on whatever it is, whether it's for a career or advocacy or both, and be positive about it. Trudy, Kelly, or Ed, she's on. I don't know if she's on or not.
Well, I have just a real quick short story about that fits in with this. Kelly and I work with a veteran, and several years back, he decided to work through Voc Rehab because he wanted to be a massage therapist. His Voc Rehab counselor said, absolutely not. That is not something you can do because you're blind. And he went through the process of, trying to explain to this person, and still kept hitting that wall. We wrote letters of support. We got them from the doctors, everything. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to just go and do it on my own. So he enrolled in classes. He became a licensed massage therapist, and he has a very successful business today here in New Mexico. So uh, that's just a story that says, you know what, even if somebody tells me I can't, I can.
Yes, well said, Trudy.
Excellent.
Yeah, and also when you go out and you use the skills you've learned and you're in public and you're using your cane or your dog and you're independent, you are educating the general public by being out and about. And the more we can get out there and do things like that, the better it's going to be for everyone. And you can all do it.
Exactly. A couple of years ago, Kelly and I had a big event on White Cane Day. It was open to the public, and that was our way of trying to educate all our employees here at the New Mexico VA, as well as the public, about what the white cane means, what visual impairment means, what the term legal blindness means. And that's what we have to continue doing.
Absolutely. And I think that White Cane Day is a wonderful day to use it because you can, like you said, educate people about what a white cane is or why the blind person uses it the way they do, or the same with a dog, and reminding them that the dog is always on, when it's out and about, it's always on duty. So
Mhm.
please adhere to that. Yeah, I was just lost what I was going to say. Okay. This education is part of, and sharing it is part of that. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. In addition to White Cane Day, I would like to see everyone out there and about on March 28th. I didn't realize it until a year or so ago, but March 28th it has been named the date by Congress as National Blinded Veterans Day. And so we really have two major opportunities that aren't conflicting with everybody else's festivals and all of this kind of stuff, where we can get out and get into the community in some way, or even into the VA in some way. I was shocked a couple years ago when we did the White Cane Day at the VA to educate the people coming in and out, the veterans and their families coming in and out, and even the people there. I was shocked that so many people at the medical center where we were did not know what a VIST was, had never heard of a BROS. Really? The blinded veterans have an organization? They have a regional group they can belong to? And so we were able to educate and advocate for a whole lot of other people. And so to have additional opportunities that we can find is a really, really good thing. So,
Patty, Trudy, and Kelly, it's Don. I just wanted to give you a 15-minute heads up, and you do have multiple hands raised if you want to consider some Q&A sessions.
Oh,
yes, please.
absolutely.
So we welcome Mr. Goody. You should be good to go first, sir. So Mr. Goody, go ahead and unmute.
Can you hear me?
Welcome.
We
Yes,
sure
we
can,
can.
James.
Okay, the question I have is, we were talking about dignity. How can the blinded vet kind of give back the dignity to the family or caregiver? Because a lot of times it seems to me that the caregiver may feel like that the blinded vet is not appreciative or they're taking advantage, and it's not the case. They just need what they need. So how can we give that dignity back to the caregiver?
One way that I can think of is show them how much you appreciate them. My husband is not a shy person, and I feel the way he treats me with respect, and that respect builds my own dignity. And he surprised me. I had a birthday a month or so ago, and he called a jewelry store, and he said, "Do you remember that set of earrings and necklace that my wife was looking at a while back?" And they did remember it. And he said, can I buy that from you and surprise her with it? Which he did on my birthday.
Wow.
And it really, he has for a long time said, I don't like it that I can't go out and buy you a birthday card or a gift or something like that. But he has now figured out a way to have others help him, and I didn't even know about it. And it really, really made me feel good. So take your wife and kids and whoever you want to something that they would enjoy. Say, come ride the bus with me and let's go shopping for school clothes. I want to help you shop with them this year. And then what they get, if it doesn't match, it matches for them. So go ahead with it, you know. Little things like that. Judy, do you have an idea?
I agree. I think that you don't want to become dependent on your caregiver. You
Right.
want to continue with your own independence, and that in itself is showing your caregiver how much you appreciate them. You know, maybe I'm not able to use the gas stove anymore, but I am able to clean the pans when it's done, or, you know, something else, wipe off the countertop. Just doing things like this shows your caregivers, you know, how much you really care about them, that just because you're visually impaired now, or you know, you're not able to do certain things, there are a lot of things you still can do, and you just continue on with that.
All right, thank you.
And may I add, I'm going to add in a little bit if that's okay. As the training that you would receive if you work with a bros or go to a blind rehab center, I've often taken people out to the store and we do a mobility lesson and how to use their magnifiers so they can go out and do their own Christmas shopping. They can purchase a gift for their wife. So you can learn to do that on your own, and you will have the ability to do that. And like Patty said, she was very surprised. And so I'm sure all the rest of the wives and the caregivers will also be surprised that you do that, because they weren't expecting it and you did it, and that'll show a lot to them.
Right.
Yeah. And then doing the things that Trudy was talking about, helping out, that shows appreciation. It's the small things every day, not great big giant things that warm the heart.
Director Gilmore, the floor is yours, ma'am. Please unmute.
Greetings, ladies. I would like to thank you for your presentation today. But my question to you guys is, especially to Patty, what can we look forward to in the future in regards to stronger advocacy efforts for caregiving for our organization, for our members and their families from you guys? For example, like, will there be any more sessions in regards to the caregiver program? ways that they could possibly be educated on who they could be connected to get better help for the veteran. So do you guys have any plans in the future as far as that?
We have plans in the future of this convention.
Okay.
There will be a session, I think it's the second session tomorrow on Tuesday, that talks about not only the laws that are now on the books for caregivers, but how caregivers can access these and options that they have in being reimbursed for some of the things that they do. And it takes both the veteran and the caregiver to do it, and they'll explain that to you. We have a session on Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, actually 2 sessions there. One of them is a BVA session, and the other one is one that we have sponsored. The BVA session is about guide dogs, and they will be telling families a little bit about the guide dog committee and what they can do and what the VA does. And it's a panel, but it's called Independence is a Family Affair. The other one is what everyone should know about Viston Bros, and that's being put on so that the caregivers know what the VA can do for the blinded veteran specifics. And in all cases, people like Trudy and Kelly that are Viston Bros at their medical centers, the blinded veteran needs to get hooked up with them. There are community actions available, and we continue with these others also. And we have one other one after that, I think, that is Kelly and Trudy, in fact, are going to put it on Friday morning about what the caregivers can do for themselves as well.
Thank you, Patty.
Trying to hit a lot of punches.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that our members know that's on this call, that some of those questions in regards to better advocacy or what avenues they need to take in regards to the caregiver program, that those sessions will be available. So thank you for letting us know.
There are several others on there that I didn't mention also. So be sure. In fact, I was pleased with all of this, the lineup of all of these sessions, because I learn a lot when I go to convention, and I looked at the session titles and I thought, wow, this is great this year.
Yeah, and the last
Yeah.
piece before we move on and take a couple more questions, I do also want to mention that Patty Hale did step forward, and we did nominate her to the Federal Advisory Committee with the Department of Veterans Affairs on caregivers, given Patty's background in both the benefits side as well as the caregiver side. So understanding all of those components. So we'll see what happens with that. We don't know who the selections will be, but we might have representation of Blinded Veterans Association on another federal advisory committee, which will be critically important for the dissemination of information such as this. So thank you, Monica. Great questions, ma'am.
Yeah.
Bear with me just a moment. Next up is going to be Anthony Thompson. Anthony Thompson, please unmute.
Yes, thank you, sir. Anthony Thompson, Emerald Coast Regional Group. Maybe you've answered a few of the questions that I want to ask about. I applaud you. You're giving us about the acceptance of our situation and the independence also. But you also talked about family members being caregivers for us, but all veterans don't have family members. And our main concern is when it comes to caregivers is that we need someone other than in the state and local facilities to assist us. We need people here around the home, but I've come to find out that there's a low ceiling when it comes to limitations for a veteran. And if you have any type of mobility, I hope I'm in the right area for this. There's very low chance of getting any type of financial assistance for a caregiver. And when you need someone at your home to cook for you, to clean for you, to tell you what color clothes you're putting on and stuff like that, time is money and money is time. But I come to find out that VA doesn't really assist in that area if you have any type of low limitations. Can you help me with this?
I would ask you to be sure and come into the program Tuesday morning. Can't even think of what it's called, and it's one I've read 1,000 times. But the one where Lori Ann Stoker and Tom McGinnis are caregiver people at the Spokane Man Grandstaff VAMC. And in the process of them accepting the challenge of taking this on, I said there will be questions very much like yours. So they need to have all of the programs that the VA offers. There's not just one. And I did not know that until this spring. The VA has 3 or 4 different programs that you can be assessed for, and they have similar bases, but they are applied differently. And I hope that they will tell you what all that is, because there is help available, Anthony.
And that session is Tuesday at 11:45.
Yeah, and the session will be called Caregivers, Spouses, and the VA Eligibility and Opportunities. So those will have subject matter experts on there to answer those specific questions, sir.
Thank you so very much.
Well, I know that there's a few additional questions. Again, unfortunately, when we're on tight schedules such as these, those questions can be forwarded to us at National. So again, bva@bva.org, Bravo Victor Alpha at bravovictoralpha.Oscar Romeo Golf, bva@bva.org, and we'll forward the questions to the panel for their responses. So thank you all for participating. I'll turn the floor back over to Stuart now for transition.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for that. And thank you for the caregiving panel here. And hopefully you can all join us for those subsequent sessions on related topics.